Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I am starting a series of videos about the best perfumes in different types of categories. So I'm kicking it off with the best all-time perfumes. So these are fragrances which I think have stood the test of time, have been amazing sellers, have become people's signature scent, and I think are these 10 iconic fragrances that if you're perhaps just getting into fragrance you should know about. These are not my personal favorites or anything like that. I just think these are the 10 greatest inventions in the perfume world. If you're new here, then hello and welcome. We're all about fragrances here, so check out my hundreds and hundreds of other videos. And if you are a regular but you haven't subscribed yet, then do hit that subscribe button, show your support, and you can support me as a channel member to get that extra icon next to your name in the comments and on Patreon as well. And as always guys, I will leave the links to where you can buy all the perfumes I talk about down below in the description box. So I'm gonna start off with Dior, Kristen Dior. They definitely obviously have to feature on this list, have been making perfumes for a very long time. I am gonna say that their Miss Dior, or how it used to be known, Miss Dior Cherie, Miss Dior range is definitely one for this list. So nowadays the Miss Dior range is known for their 5 different fragrances. You have Miss Dior Eau de Parfum, Eau de Toilette, then you have Miss Dior Absolutely Blooming, and you have Miss Dior Blooming Bouquet, and the latest one is Miss Dior Rose and Roses. In the past we had Miss Dior Cherie, and there was a couple of different versions of that. That's all discontinued. They were my faves. But actually the original Miss Dior perfume has been out for many more decades. It came out in 1947 and it is actually still sold. You can still buy it. It's not sold everywhere, but most Dior counters will have some, or of course online. And there are still ladies that have been wearing this since 1947. It's totally different to the modern Miss Diors, which are rosy, patchouli. I have a video explaining the difference between them all. Very much a modern scent. The original Miss Dior is an earthy chypre, lots of aromatic notes in there, mossy notes in there, a very classic scent, a scent of the 40s and 50s, not the kind of fragrance that would be released nowadays. So it does tend to be worn by the older generation, but it comes in this beautiful, really classy, you know, classic Dior bottle, and I think a lot of people don't realize that that actually is original Miss Dior. So because that's been around for so long and has sort of recreated itself so many times and is still a bestseller, I think definitely first on the list is Miss Dior. I think the other one from Dior that I have to mention is Dior Poison. This was a massive seller in the 80s into the 90s, like a heavy oriental deep spicy plum. It's very strong, amazing for lasting, and Hypnotic Poison as well is very popular. Very strong vanilla almondy scent, very similar to Dolce & Gabbana's The One. Very sexy, really is hypnotic, makes me feel a bit sick when I wear it. But these are iconic bottles. I love the bottles. I wish I'd invented them. And the fragrances are super strong, amazing for lasting. They've had some more modern versions like Poison Girl Unexpected, which were a bit boring to be honest, but the original ranges, they had a blue one, they had a green one, discontinued, and of course Pure Poison, which is a strong jasmine similar to Mugler's Alien. I think these are an iconic range of perfumes, so I definitely want to include these. They've been going strong for many decades. Kind of similar story to Miss Dior. The next one on my list is L'Interdit from Givenchy. So this was recently re-released a few years ago as an eau de parfum. There's an eau de toilette. I have an intense version, which is my favorite. But the original L'Interdit, which was created for Audrey Hepburn, the story goes that she said that she loved it so much that it should be forbidden, which is what L'Interdit means in English. I guess she was ignored and it was released anyway. This again was a very heavy classic scent, quite powdery iris, very strong. This isn't available anymore. They only sell the new L'Interdit version, which is very different. It's more a tuberose, a white floral. This intense one has a sesame note in it, which is really different and unusual. Again, I have videos explaining all of this, so I'll leave them linked. But I think anything that stood the test of time like that, it was released in 1957. 7, and anything that's been recreated is kind of like Madonna, you know, like if something keeps getting reborn and is still popular, I think I definitely wanted to include it on this list because that is a great fragrance, something where the brand and the idea can stand the test of time. I think that's really cool. So from Givenchy, I'm definitely putting their L'Interdit on the list. I think an obvious one for this list is of course Chanel No. 5. Probably the most famous perfume that exists. You know, if you ask someone that doesn't know anything about perfume to name a perfume, this would probably be the first one they think of. It has recently had quite a lot of advertising going on, but personally, I think that they shouldn't bother trying to push Chanel No. 5. I think it's quite a dated smell and it's an aldehyde smell, so it's quite medicinal to me. I don't love the smell of Chanel No. 5, basically. It is classy smell, but I think it's old-fashioned now, I'm sorry. Their Coco Mademoiselle, which is a bestseller, is a much more pretty modern fragrance, rose, patchouli, orange. My mum wears it. I used to wear it when I was a teenager before she stole it and it moved on to her, but it's like, I think that now is the better fragrance. Even though Chanel No. 5's been around for so long, I think Coco Mademoiselle, the way that it took over from Chanel No. 5, which is a difficult thing to do, means that I probably think that one is more worthy of the list than No. 5, but that's probably a controversial opinion. Let me know what you think in the comments. So from Giorgio Armani, I was kind of thinking of including their Armani C, but it hasn't been out for that long, and even though it's good because it has so many different versions, different people love different ones, I feel like Armani Code is the right one to have on this list, simply because it was so iconic when this came out. It was 2006 and it was that whole like 2000s vibe. Everyone was wearing Armani Code. It was really good for lasting. It still is good for lasting. I think it might have been reformulated, and it just captured that moment in time of that change in fragrance to be a little bit more sexy. And I think this one was more sort of worn by women as like quite an empowering scent rather than something to attract men, which I feel like a lot of the more Chanel advertising and stuff and the old-fashioned advertising is about. So I want to include Armani Code on this list. It's now very affordable. It's basically a strong jasmine with orange blossom. There's a really warm honey note in here. It's very warming and like a warm oranginess to it as well. So it is definitely worth trying. It's probably quite underrated now, maybe because it just was so overbought back in the day in the 2000s, but still very much around. I did actually like Luna, Armani Code Luna that they brought out, but that was discontinued. It mustn't have done very well. So from Thierry Mugler, obviously I have to include their Angel perfume. I have their limited edition for this year, Angel Eyes Star. I have their Angel Nova. The original Angel though is a heavy patchouli, and it's also got quite heavy praline notes in, so it's very strong, deep, becomes your signature scent, lasts incredibly well. It's another one kind of like Hypnotic Poison that you know could make you feel a bit sickly because it's so heavy and intense, but the bottle as well is iconic. Like no one had done something like this before. It's my favorite bottle, I think, so this definitely had to go on the list. Like I think this is one of my favorite branding around a fragrance, the bottle, the adverts and everything. Even though I'm not a huge fan personally of the original, I think it's a great fragrance because it lasts so well. Mugler perfumes always seem to last very well. So from Guerlain, interesting house. I think they have a really strong history of perfumes, but in more modern times they've released new ones and they haven't done as well as perhaps they hoped. I think they really had this big fanfare for their Mon Petit Robe Noir fragrance, which I think is great. It's a deep almond cherry, but I don't think it's ever done very well. Their Mon Guerlain with Angelina Jolie of the face of the fragrance, I think that has done pretty well, but nothing has come to the heights of their Shalimar fragrance, which is on this list, which is another classic. I think this came out in 1990 and it's a really heavy spicy amber. Very strong, very good for lasting for someone that really loves spice and wants that really deep warm scent to follow them around. It has like incensey vibes, leather in it, it's super oriental, and I think it just sold really, really well. You can get all these different versions of it. They relaunched it again in an initial version. Don't think that did particularly well, but the original is still very much bought and popular. When I used to work in a perfume shop, people would come in and ask for it, like people's signature scent. It's a spicy one. I don't like spicy incensey perfumes, it's not one for me, but I do think it's excellent quality. The bottle is very pretty, and it's definitely the most successful thing Guerlain have released, I think, so it's on the list. Next one I wanted to include is CK1. I think this was the first iconic unisex fragrance or gender neutral fragrance where it wasn't about being a woman, being a man, whatever. It was just about it smells great, wear it if you like it. And it's probably the most successful, like citrusy, fresh, light perfume. Definitely the most successful unisex perfume. It's basically like a fresh lemony green apple, very universal, very affordable. You get these big 100ml or 200ml bottles for like £30. You go mad with it. You can share it. A man and a woman could both, you know, just have one fragrance and share it. And I think it just really took off, and it was very cool, and it was at that time when Calvin Klein was very cool, and I think, you know, Kate Moss and everyone was doing adverts on Calvin Klein, and it just was so successful. Great launch, definitely the most successful ever from Calvin Klein and their fragrance line, so that's definitely on the list. And then I wanted to include Jo Malone because I remember when Jo Malone just sort of became this household name. Everyone was going mad for the stores that smelt amazing, and the candles and the moisturizers, and it was the coolest gift to receive. You know, if you really wanted to treat someone, you really, really love them, you'd get them a Jo Malone thing for Christmas, and everyone would know it was so expensive, so high end, and it was just the thing. I think especially since now people know that Jo Malone isn't involved anymore, she sold it to Estee Lauder, I think it's kind of less popular now, and for me the branding has become a bit samey and boring. It needs to reinvent itself, I think. But I wanted to include their Pomegranate Noir, which I think is definitely their most iconic fragrance, and in my opinion the best fragrance they make. Some of their fragrances are very light and citrusy and don't last very well, but are still like 80, 90, £100. So they are expensive, and I think you obviously want something to last if you're paying that kind of money. Pomegranate Noir does last. I know people that wear it and you really do smell it on them, so it is worth the money if you love the smell. And it's quite a unique smell. It's like sexy and interesting, but without being spicy or ambery or old-fashioned in any way. I think it's also quite universal. You can wear it during the day, night, any season. It's a very universal fragrance. So if you've never tried Pomegranate Noir, I would try it. It's got like a rhubarby note in it, pink pepper, really good patchouli and rose that help it have that lasting power, I think. So Pomegranate Noir from Jo Malone is the next one. And then lastly, for number 10, I wanted to throw in here Flower Bomb from Viktor and Rolf. I think the reason why I wanted to include this, even though it's only been out for maybe like 20 years, is because it's so strong. The smell is so iconic. People have this as their signature scent. People will talk about wearing it at key moments in their life, you know, for their wedding, when they got engaged, whatever. They remember they were wearing Flower Bomb, and people really get associated with it. Like if you have a friend that wears it, whenever you smell Flower Bomb, you think of them. And I think that's exactly what a fragrance should be like. It should have that kind of power. I love the fact that it has that lasting power and strength. It's basically really strong patchouli, strong floral. And then it has some pretty like orchids and freesia, but it's just like a heavy, heavy floral but in a quite a sexy, warm way. Their body products are also very strong. I have the hand cream and you really can smell it. It would even take over from whatever fragrance I'm wearing as the dominant smell. So they're very good value for money in that sense. I personally like some of the flankers they came out with. There's one with like a gunpowder note in, nectar. So yeah, my last one on the list is Flower Bomb. So guys, this was really difficult to pick 10. Let me know what your 10 ultimate iconic best fragrances of all time that have come out would be. But that's it. So, and like I said, they'll all be linked down below in the description where you can buy them in North America, UK, Europe, other places in the world. But that's it, guys. So thanks so much for watching as always, and I will see you in the next video.